Today we're going to take a look at the newly updated Blackbird XLC. The main update people will immediately notice is that now when you remove the detachable netting, the storage shelf and footbox stay on the hammock. The footbox is nice to have all the time because it prevents the end of your sleeping bag or top quilt from repeatedly flopping over the edge of the hammock when the netting is removed. And since the zipper now runs along the top side of the shelf, it's super easy to access items from outside the hammock. On the old XLC, there was a micro carabiner at each end of the netting that needed to be clipped and unclipped when removing or installing the top. These have been eliminated. Just like before, all XLCs come with continuous loops, which is essentially a permanent master suspension point on the end of the hammock. It's a loop of cord that you will attach whichever suspension components you like onto it. If you order your XLC with something other than continuous loops, that suspension will come pre-attached to your continuous loops. Getting two pieces of AM steel unhitched can be difficult, so we have recently started inserting a tiny pin into the hitch wherever two pieces of AM steel are joined. Simply push the pin out and the hitch will be just loose enough to untie with your fingers. We've been calling these suspension pins. Another change we made to the new XLC was to change the zipper. We've switched from a plastic molded tooth zipper to a coil style zipper, similar to what we've always used on the Ridge Runner hammock. Over the years, we found the coil zippers to be lighter, smoother, and more durable. On the entrance side of the XLC, we have added a magnetic snap that lines up with the snap on the Wookie Underquilt. This holds the two layers together about where you sit down, preventing you from sitting in your underquilt by mistake. It's also worth noting that we've made a minor cosmetic change to the shape of the foot box, and we've started offering glow-in-the-dark zipper pulls. And we're also in the process of adding a new 70 denier 2.5 ounce fabric option. Being 50% heavier, it makes a great single layer hammock for folks in the 225 to 300 pound range who might otherwise buy a double layer. Soon you'll be able to choose a heavyweight single layer. Watch for this option later this fall. This year we've also made some significant changes to our Wookie Underquilt. We made changes to the shape and we've also made the quilt itself stretchy. These changes improve the way the quilt fits, along the sides particularly, and it also allowed us to completely omit the rubber band and micro carabiner that were at the foot end previously. In the middle of each side of the Wookie is a magnetic snap. On the entrance side, the snap lines up with the snap on the new XLC. This conveniently keeps the edges of the hammock and underquilt together so you don't accidentally sit in your underquilt. It makes it easier to grab both edges as you're sitting down. There's a second snap on the opposite side of the Wookie as well, and that corresponds with a snap on the Underquilt Protector. We've also added a short piece of elastic binding so the Wookie hugs your toes just slightly. And we've increased the insulated area as well, making the insulated portion several inches longer at both ends, as well as wider at the left knee. Wookies made to fit our 10-foot hammocks will retain the smaller sized insulated area, while Wookies for 11-foot hammocks will insulate the new larger area. Both sizes will share all the same other features. When you receive your Wookie, you will notice a pair of corded loops on both ends. The shorter loops are for attaching the Wookie for normal use. The secondary loops are for extending the quilt suspension. We're calling these HVAC loops. Sometimes it's too hot for an underquilt when you're ready for bed, but you know it's going to cool down as the night goes on and that you'll need it later. Or perhaps it's the middle of the day and you want to use the hammock to read or take a nap. You'll need it later tonight, but you don't need it at lunchtime, so what do? Instead of taking it off, you can simply engage the HVAC loops to extend the suspension. This lets the quilt hang loosely 1 to 2 inches below the hammock for a ventilated setup. It will still block some wind and insulate slightly, but you can use this setup anytime you need some insulation, but you're also worried about overheating. It's also very easy to revert back to full insulation mode during your nighttime bathroom break once the temps have cooled down. And these HVAC loops aren't just for ventilation either. They can also be used for extra heat by allowing you to stack underquilts. Sometimes you might want to stack 2 underquilts together to make a quilt warmer. You can put one quilt on like normal, and then for the second quilt use the HVAC loops. The outer quilt hangs looser, allowing both quilts to loft and seal together without one compressing the other. To go with the new Wookie, we have also completely redesigned the XLC Underquilt Protector. An underquilt protector can be a vital part of any cool weather hammock system. In cooler weather particularly, it's very important to block all the wind from your underquilt. Wind robs an underquilt of its heat and its temperature rating, so it's important to block it. This can be done 2 ways. A full-size tarp like our Superfly will come down far enough to act as a full wind block on its own, but large tarps can be overkill much of the year and are harder to deal with. For many people, they will be better off with a 2-part system consisting of a smaller, more user-friendly tarp like our Mini-Fly or Thunderfly, paired with an underquilt protector. The underquilt protector can be carried seasonally, so you might choose to leave it at home in summer. It can be deployed in seconds, so you might leave it in your pack until it's needed, or you might use it daily on winter trips. Adding the Underquilt Protector to a smaller tarp makes for a great winter setup and allows you to tailor your kit to fit the season. The Underquilt Protector now attaches with cam snaps at each end instead of the ribbon ties that used to be there, and it has a magnetic snap on the backside to attach to the Wookie. It also acts as extra storage space to toss your jacket, your top quilt, or even dirty clothes down into. The final new feature of the Underquilt Protector is the zipper on the side. When it's time to pack up, you can zip up your whole kit. Your hammock, your underquilt, and your top quilt can all be zipped up into the Underquilt Protector. Stuff the whole thing down tight into your backpack or toss it into the back seat of the car. When you're ready to use it again, just hang it up and unzip without needing to reinstall everything back onto the hammock again. Shout out to Todd from Tents and Hammock Stands for this idea. We think it's super cool and convenient, and we think you'll like it too. And that wraps up the new features of the newly updated XLC Wookie and Underquilt Protector. Thanks for taking a look. For more information, check out our product page.